Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. My name is Joanna Daniel, and I'm a counselor. I live in the UK. Today, I'm talking about attachment and or romantic relationships. And this came out of a conversation I was having this morning with a dear young woman who has been listening to my podcast. And this season of the podcast, I'm focused on attachment. And she wanted to know about attachment, her fearful avoidant attachment, and how that might impact romantic relationships. Now, there are many reasons, many things going on, and I don't necessarily believe we're fearfully avoidant if we're struggling to love or to allow people to love us. And but it triggered something because I wrote this workshop, if you will, call it live, that I was going to come and do with you since last week, and I just didn't make the time to come and do it. Good morning. I can see that somebody's here. I didn't make the time to come and do it. And because of the conversation with her, I decided that I was going to come and do this on attachment. Now, I need to say this at the beginning. I am not talking about attachment or indeed doing this because I read a book or read many books. I've read many books. I love books. But I trained as a counselor. I did several different types of courses around attachment, healing attachment injuries, and working specifically with people one-to-one to do that as part of my counseling practice. So that's where I'm coming from with this. Now, attachment also is important to me because we had broken attachment due to medical reasons, and the work of having to build secure attachment with our children because of that disconnection that happened early in life, and also discovering my own attachment pattern and my husband. And when we discover our attachment pattern, so we can discover that we're insecurely attached to our children or we're insecurely attached. And then what next? A book won't fix it on its own. Attachment injuries is trauma. A book on its own won't do the fixing. Now, you'll get lots and lots of insights, but if you really want to apply and to carry out change, you're going to need more than that. That's what I'm going to say at the beginning. All right. So how does attachment style affect how we love and how we receive love and how we give love? So what is attachment? If this is your first time watching any of my videos around attachment is a connection formed early in life between children and their primary caregivers. And when this vital emotional connection wasn't made, we have what we call attachment injuries or ruptures or trauma. Okay, when those early connection wasn't made, and they're not made for many different reasons, and there are many different people in my community, many different things that impact in attachment. I can speak about attachment from different perspectives, but I specifically want to talk about attachment in terms of migration as well and how that impact, because I know a lot of people in my community are from Africa, from the Caribbean, live in the UK or in the US, and that's an issue. When a parent leaves, and that's broken attachment. And even though they might work hard and send lots of things home, attachment is still broken and the injuries still need healing. Sometimes when a child will speak to mom or speak to dad, they might see that as ungrateful or might see that as not being grateful for all the things that we did and all the things that we sent and all the money that we sent. That is not the reason. When the injury is there, the injury needs healing. Okay. So I just want to kind of put that in there. Now, you can also have broken attachment with people that are there physically, but are not there emotionally, because lots of people don't know how to be there emotionally because nobody was there for them emotionally, right? When we've experienced disconnection, when we've experienced our own attachment injuries, in order for us to offer that to our children, we have to do something about what we never got in order to give something different. It's really good that you're here. It's really good that that's the path you want to take, but we need to know what the root is before we do anything else. Otherwise, the fruits, we're not going to be able to manage the fruits. Okay. So what are some of the things that might cause you to experience attachment injuries? And I'm going to keep looking down because I make notes, because sometimes I can go off and I want to be able to stick to what I've said, what I've written. So sometimes there are different things that might impact attachment injuries. There's trauma, the child's trauma, your mother's trauma, your parents' trauma, generational trauma, living in an abusive home, the sexual trauma. Different types of trauma can impact attachment. For a woman, if she's experienced sexual trauma, being re-traumatized giving birth can impact how she connects to the child that she's given birth to. For a woman, having traumatic birth can impact attachment. When you're just healing from your body, going through all that it's been through, and to do breastfeeding and to care for a little infant and all of that, as much as you might look forward to that baby, when birth is traumatic, it has an impact. Okay. So trauma in its many varieties, in its many forms. I'm also going to say what's going on in the relationship at the time of giving birth. Those things can impact attachment. Generational trauma. Now, all of these can be a workshop on their own, right? And I'll tell you some more about that, but all of these can be a workshop on their own. I'm going to go deeper into this in my workshop on Sunday the 28th when I look at healing attachment injuries. I'm anxious and avoidant attachment. Poverty. Growing up in poverty impacts attachment. When your parents or you are just working to make ends meet and you're doing 3 jobs and you're making night turn day, as one woman used to tell me, that can impact attachment. It impacts your ability to connect or your availability for connection, right? When there's so much lack, your ability and your availability, whether or not you can play, do picnics, laugh, have family time. Those things are a luxury for some people. And if you were one where you grew up in a home where this was a luxury and you never got it, that's probably one of the reasons. If you are now living through this, be patient with yourself, because seasons change, the season will pass. But if you realize that this is something, see how you might be able to reorganize some things. And I say to someone, even on the school run, when you're going to pick the child up, make it a special time of exploration and laughter and fun, even if that's all the time you have, because it's going to become special to that child and they look forward to it. But sometimes we might pick them up and our minds are preoccupied with how we're going to pay the next bill. And you might not be able to think about looking at the colors of autumn, finding unique leaves, finding different color leaves, and do a collage when you get home. 10 minutes of activity every day, and that child looks forward to it and it fills their heart with joy. And those are little things that you can do to begin to build security and safety. Be able to listen helps. And I wasn't going to the solutions just yet, but as I'm here, being able to just listen, turn towards, put your phone down, put the phone away, put the books away, put the bill away. Take a deep breath to clear your frontal lobe so you can hear. Watch something together. Go for a walk. Do something that the child likes. Make a favorite meal together. Different things that do over time. One thing over time starts to build security, and it helps you to build connection with the child. And you start to see a difference in your relationship. If you're tired, I know this might be another thing to do, but I promise you it will help you too. I'm going to go back to my list of causes, right? So poverty, neglect, emotional neglect impacts attachment. If you experience emotional neglect, now you might have material possessions from your home, but not emotion. You might still be neglected emotionally, even though you were provided for. You had a nice house, you had nice clothes, you've been on holidays, but emotional presence might still be absent, because there's a lot of people who that's more comfortable to do than to do emotional connection. They might not know how to do that. So that might impact attachment. Parents separating or divorce is a massive trauma for a child, which inevitably impacts attachment. This separation or divorce might not be a choice. It might be abuse and you had to go. It saved your life and it saved the life of your child. And now there's the work of rebuilding and reconnecting that needs to happen. But it's an injury for the child. So even though you did the right thing and you did the right thing for you and them, an injury occur that still needs attention. Cultural norms and ideas around connection impacts how people connect. There are cultures where the rules around how father should respond, how mother should respond, and how the child should respond. And none of these rules include connection. So it's important to know what are the cultural rules in where I'm from and how does that impact connection. So that might be cultural rules in the wider society. There might be rules in your family or in your community. So it's important also to just look at it in different stages. What were the rules in my home, in my family? What were the rules in the society that I grew up in my community, and in my church, if you're a Christian? It's important to look at it in all of it, all the layers. Okay. Cultural ideas. So there are rules, right? And then there's cultural ideas around how available a parent should be to their child. Such a great lesson. Thank you so much. I agree. Physical presence does not guarantee emotional connection. It does not guarantee emotional connection. No. So cultural norms around how much availability a parent can have with a child, there's that too. And so there's some cultures where a child can't ask or challenge a parent, can't say, I don't have this, or, can't speak their needs, and because of how children are viewed. And believe it or not, it's still happening in 2022. If you're from that culture and you're struggling with connection, think about how it was done for you and what were the cultural norms around connection, because that's going to impact everything you hear, even what I'm saying. It's also going to impact everything you read. It's going to impact everything, because our culture is a filter. And when we don't recognize it as a filter, it takes out valuable, vital information that we need to be able to do things and to move forward in life, right? So it's important to know that, because how we love is expressed sometimes culturally, whether touch is normal, such as hugs or affirmations or words of encouragement. That's important. So we just watched this clip from a Jamaican comedian, Julie Mango, and she was saying how Jamaicans tell the time, right? And my children listened to it and they said, Mom, that's why you do that. And I thought they get to understand me a little bit better, a little bit more today. So, and that's something I never thought about. But we have ways of doing things based on our culture. And it's really important to understand how it impacts connection. Really important. And how family culture as well. Family culture is the things that is habitual in your families of origin. What do they do habitually? That is what will tell you how connection is. So for example, again, I saw this TikTok, a Facebook friend of mine share about this young girl that was talking about connection. And she said how her mother affirms her and what her mother does and how she can understand how other people don't. And as I'm listening to it, I realized that listening to that through my cultural lens, that's not a normal thing for us to do. And then listening to it through religious lens, it even isn't more normal for us to do. Because one of the things that we were told was, don't tell your child that they're beautiful because they're going to be proud, and we don't want them to be proud, do we? But I realized that if we don't do that, somebody else is going to, and maybe not do it in a way that is going to be affirming and encouraging and nurturing. So if I don't tell my daughter how gorgeous she is, and if her dad don't tell her how gorgeous she is, and we are her mirror, she's going to tell herself something completely different. So I need to tell her, we need to say, you're beautiful, you're gorgeous today, or wow, that is so good. We need to affirm and encourage. And my studied purpose is to make home a soft place for my children. We are committed to making home a soft place. So we need to be able, our children need to be able to know how we feel about them. We need to reflect something back to them that is positive constantly. There's enough negativity in the world. They're not going to get it at home as well. But if there's a culture of not doing that, then we don't know how to do it. It becomes awkward, and you're trying to touch, but you're patting their head hard as opposed to rubbing it and soothing it. You don't hug as soft as you want to. But even if your pat is as opposed to a gentle touch, keep doing it until you learn how to do it in a different way. Because remember that you have to build trust. Otherwise, if your child don't trust you, then they're not going to take it on. And I'm saying that, and I seem to be leaning more towards parenting than romantic connection, but I'm gonna get there. Bear with me. So those are a lot of factors that plays into connection, right? Now, if we transfer this to our romantic relationships, because I'm talking about love, we're going to love in the exact same way as how it was given, whether loving our children or loving our partners or even allowing them to love us. Okay. So according to the Gottman Institute, the Gottmans, one of the crucial aspects of building safety in relationships is your partner's ability to turn towards you when you do something. And I addressed this in one of my podcast episodes, I think last week. Your partner's ability to turn towards you, to respond to your need when you express it. If it's a need for a hug or for touch or for safety or to be listened to, your partner's ability to do that indicates safety. Now, you're not able to do that if you're avoidant or if you're anxious. That might be a challenge, or any insecure attachment pattern, that might be a challenge to turn towards someone. So that might be an area to look at and address. And as I talk to Christians, I know there's a lot of people who use the Bible as an excuse as to why they can't turn to. Because that's a way to avoid and hide from their pain when they use scriptures. And so you might have an emotional need that you've expressed, and a partner has used the Bible as a reason why they can't do it. You might want softness and play and gentleness, and they might be telling you that it's the end of time and we need to do Bible studies or we need to do this thing. And you're dying inside because they can't meet your need. Or you might be in a relationship, a marriage indeed, where there's little to no emotional connection, and you're dying slowly inside because the next person don't have the capacity, the emotional capacity to turn towards you because of what they got early in life. As some of the things that I have been talking about here, because of what they got means that they can't turn towards you. So you might, if you are able to do an emotional inventory of your relationship, or do an attachment style questionnaire, and just to see where you are, where your partner is, and what you can do to begin to build safety in your relationship. If you recognize that there's no safety in your relationship, you might be tempted to think, you know what, that's it, I'm off. I'm not here to tell you what to do, but I'm saying explore this avenue. But both parties must be willing to do the work of healing attachment injuries in order for the relationship to function. If one is hiding behind any excuses, religious or whatever excuse they're hiding behind, it's going to become problematic. When people grow up in an environment where love me signals were ignored, it's going to be very difficult for them to respond to your love me signals. For a conversation, for a hug, for a touch. When I was going to share something, but I thought I better not share it here. I'll share it in the workshop because it's something so personal. But people are not able to respond to love me signals, and just your ability to respond to love me signals helps your relationships to grow. So think about for yourself, why can't I respond to it? Try not to get in your feelings. Try not to get upset. But I always say, if this upsets you, then there's something there. It's touching on something that you need to explore and need to learn more about. So you might be stoic or anxious in your approach to love. You might be either unable to trust someone if someone wants to love you, or you might be unable to give love to someone. Okay. You might be unsure you might feel unlovable and believe that nobody's able to love you. You might be afraid to extend yourself to love. You might be fearful, will people love me? That again speaks to a deeper issue that is present. And it goes, if you go back to the earlier part of the video and look at what are my traumas, those are what will tell you why you're fearful of love. Okay. But the attachment injuries can heal. And as I was saying earlier, do things that are safe and connecting. Spend time together. Laugh a lot together. Do things that make you laugh. Do explore each other's interests and do those things. Ask, what do you like and what do you like? And take turns and do what each other likes in your relationship. right? Not just do what you want to do. And as you do that, then you begin to grow in safety. There are things that you might have to do that will take you outside of your comfort zone. As long as it doesn't challenge your values and your boundaries, explore it, right? You might do things that are uncomfortable, but as long as you're not the only one doing the uncomfortable things and the next person is not doing anything, everybody must be committed to making the relationship work in order for it to work. You will share yours, they'll share theirs, and everybody will sit through discomfort and work through the discomfort. I know I've heard this many times, but one person can't make a relationship work. It takes two committed people to put the work in, to make an effort, to understand themselves better, to heal the relationship so that it can grow. So what are some of the ways that you can do it? What we do at Wounds to Scars is we do workshops, and we have one on the 28th of October, 27th of October rather, and it's called Healing Avoidant and Anxious Attachment Patterns. I'm going to share the cause of those attachment patterns, how they impact our romantic relationships, and the things that you can do to heal yourself and heal the safety of the relationship. I think it's really would be good if you come with your partner so that you can both learn. You can learn the information together. I know what often happens is that women come, the men don't, and we're going back to feed the information to them through our own filters. Let them come together so that, because we're doing it via Zoom, both of you come to the workshop, learn together if you're committed to your relationship and your relationship working. If you're single and you want to learn this information because you're wanting to know, how can I heal my attachment injuries before relationships so that I know that when I go into relationship, then I have a better chance of making it work. Come with your pen and your paper, come to learn, because I'm going to give so many tips and tools. And I'm also going to answer questions. The workshop is going to be available for you afterwards, and you can have access to it forever. Okay. So thank you for joining me. And tomorrow I'm going to be back here talking about why are you unlucky in love and why do you feel like you are. I hope I'll see you then.